Hi there, welcome to Tarotland Soap Opera. Today I'm going to do a reading for Taurus energy, and like usual on this channel we're going to do two rows. The top row I refer to as high vibe Taurus energy, the bottom row a more worldly, shadowy Taurus energy, because we've all got our dualistic nature and we have to make choices in our life, and our more worldly, shadowy energy could just represent we'd rather stay in our comfort zone, and we'd rather have the things that we've invested in work out the way we want, but it could be not turning out the way we want, and we could have fear of just listening to love and intuition to guide us and being more independent to face our fear, to move forward in life differently. You know, if we're going to move forward in life differently, and we're kind of feeling the tug or the pull to move forward in life differently, we're maybe have other people in our life, or jobs, or friendships, or relationships, and some of those people might not be interested in moving forward in life that way. And so are we willing to become independent, kind of listen more to our intuition, and believe in ourselves, believe in our dreams? And for that reason, some people aren't going to move forward in life differently. If other people in their life don't move forward in life differently, they're not going to. But it could keep us stuck. And, you know, are we really living our authentic life or our truth? Or is it in alignment with our dreams? So some people could be battling within themselves. Some other people already made the decision. I'm fine living my life the way I've lived it. I have no interest or pull or to look at life any differently. Other people listened to their intuition. It was time for them to move forward in life differently, and they are moving forward in life differently. So Taurus energy has to do with our philosophy of life at any given moment. You know, we all view life differently, how we view ourselves, how we view the world, how we view others, what we believe is possible, lessons that we've learned in life. Some people have learned more lessons than some other people about being, you know, high vibe energy is about being just and fair and treating other people the way we like to be treated. Our more worldly, shadowy energy can be that we're a little bit more still about ourselves, or our ego, or our image, or lust, or greed, or pride, or ego, or trying to manipulate and control people, you know? So everybody has their philosophy of life at any given moment of how they view life, and we all justify living our life whatever way we live it, or we wouldn't be living our life that way. And we're looking to find people who are kind of more on the same page as us. So are we willing to walk the talk? That's high vibe Taurus energy. Or we can all be manipulated by our more worldly nature. Well, I should just stay in this job or this friendship or this relationship, because the reason for the bottom row's reading is the Nine of Wands, which can be I'm defensive to change. I'm defensive to closing out a cycle. The nines are the start of feeling like it's time for a cycle to close out. And then you have to take that inspired action, and the Ace of Wands to make the 10 of Wands. There's a maximum of 10 in every suit. And if we keep moving forward, inspired by truth and love, we do close out an old cycle. And we let go of our defensiveness. And we have this new beginning. And in the top row, we start out with the Eight of Wands. Kind of like, why am I defending something that could make me feel defensive or wounded? Why am I not inspired? And the reason for the top row's reading, to listen to my intuition. And the High Priestess is Cancer Pisces energy of letting love and intuition and having hope and faith and belief in my dreams and being more independent. Why am I not more independent? Why don't I love and believe in myself? Why do I keep defending living my life a certain way, or viewing life a certain way, or staying in certain situations? And high vibe people do that work within themselves to free themselves from things that manipulate them, that are making them still defensive. So let's go look at the bottom row. We have the Nine of Swords, the Eight of Swords, the Three of Swords in reverse, the Five of Pentacles in reverse. Well, again, kind of almost closing out a cycle in the Nine of Swords. And there's that last truth to deal with to close out a cycle. Am I willing to listen to my intuition? If my intuition is telling me that however it is I'm living my life could have me up in my head a lot. Do I like this job? Do I like these people? Is this love? You know, because if you're 9 swords up in your head and there's a maximum of 10, there's that one cup of love that people are thinking about. Do I love myself? Do I believe in myself? Am I in situations and jobs that I love, in friendships with people I love? Do they love me? I'm in a mental prison. You know, we can want to be in relationships. We can want a job. We could stay in jobs, friendships, and relationships more because it makes logical, practical sense. Living more from our mind than our heart. And I'm fearful of not continuing to invest in this because then I do have to align with more loving myself than maybe staying in situations where people might love me, but maybe it's not really aligned with my truth. And in order to move forward in life, I have to get more aligned with loving myself and believing in myself. The Three of Swords and the Five of Pentacles. Well, for one, there might be people in your life that, again, if you were to move forward in life differently, they're not going to move forward in life with you that way. This might be how they live their life. They might live more from their mind than their heart. They might be in a mental prison. They might be defensive to change. If you change, then they're not. The Three of Swords can be about trying to balance things out. You know, there might be conflict. The Three of Swords kind of can talk about there can be conflict because getting balance between your mind and your heart. And the Five of Pentacles in Taurus energy talks about detaching from an old way of living life or viewing life to move forward in life. And you might know some people, some of you might particularly be dealing with a Libra or a Taurus. But, you know, our own shadow nature doesn't want us to get balanced and to move forward in life. Because our shadow nature wants us, like it's our self-protective nature. Let's just stay here and do this. Let's not get more balance. Let's not move forward in life. Let's keep staying here. This is safe and secure. We won't get hurt here. Let's let our fear manipulate us. Our immature nature, our prideful nature, our defensive nature, our lust, our greed, whatever, codependent nature. Then it's kind of like we don't have to take creative, inspired action to do life any differently. So we stay in our comfort zone. And then there's other people in our life who have that same thing going on in their head. And to get out, the Three of Swords can also talk about pain and heartbreak. In order for us to move forward in life authentically, not just putting on a show like, oh, I've changed, oh, I've healed, look, I'm different. You know, to really, the truth is what sets us free. And in order to get out of past pain and heartbreak and our fears and our insecurities and stuff like that, we'd have to quit being more consumed maybe with ourself and our own fear. Because in the Nine of Swords, there's one cup of love, which can be about ourself, my fear, my insecurities, my defensive nature. And to let go of that truth and just go down to the Eight of Swords, then I'm focused on two cups of love. Me working together maybe with other people instead of my more self-protective, self-defensive nature. And then, in order to move forward in life, I'd have to work through my past pain and heartbreak that makes me kind of self-protective and defensive anyway, which I could have been in relationships before that I moved forward with when I did listen to my intuition before, and it didn't maybe work out the way I wanted. And now I'm defensive to listening to my intuition. Well, the whole thing is, we were drawn and attracted to certain people because we had lessons learned from them. And part of it could have been that we were kind of defensive, or a more shadowy nine of wands in Sagittarius energy is we had some growing up and healing to do. And if we had some growing up and healing to do, and we hadn't healed from past pain and heartbreak, we're probably going to hang out with some other people who are defensive, maybe kind of immature, kind of defensive, haven't healed from their past pain and heartbreak. And all of that life experience, is this my truth? Is this how I want to keep living my life? Do I want to create an illusion of, look at me, look, I've moved forward, look, I've invested in getting justice in the world, look, I'm getting justice in the world, but I still have all this inner conflict that I haven't dealt with? And it's kind of more creating an illusion because I didn't see the truth that I needed to work through my own fears, insecurities, past pain and heartbreak and defensiveness, because I could have rejected more just and fair and balanced and loving people because that really wasn't where I was at. And just like where some of you used to be in that energy, some other people are still in that energy. And we were drawn and attracted to certain people to help us work through these issues within ourselves by being in relationships like, say we're immature. We get in relationships with more immature, impulsive people. Well, we're moving along in that. We might want more justice. The King of Swords is Libra energy, represented by the scales of justice. We might like more balance in our life, but if we're kind of defensive or immature or impulsive and reckless, it's kind of hard to get there, right? And if we're hanging out with other people who are more immature and defensive and haven't healed from their past pain and heartbreak, it's kind of hard to get the justice and the balance that we want in our life. And we can be in more codependent energy where we look to just get in these relationships with other people, hoping that will be the answer. But because we hadn't gotten out of our past pain and heartbreak, maybe, and kind of defensive to loving and believing in ourselves, we get drawn and attracted to being in relationships to some degree. They're kind of on the same page as us, or just in shadowy energy, and they could be in much more shadowy energy than we were. More bossy, more controlling, more immature, something, right? And that's when we kind of realize the truth. I'm trying to move forward and have these new beginnings, but I still have my own past pain and heartbreak that I maybe haven't dealt with. And that I could have a philosophy of life, of a way of viewing life and viewing myself and viewing the world. And it could just be being more codependent, not feeling very balanced within myself, haven't learned to love myself. And I kind of see the truth that if I want the justice in the world, and I want more just and fair relationships, maybe I had fear of standing more up for myself and speaking my truth and demanding justice and fairness, standing up for justice and fairness, and that if this isn't just and fair, then I'm going to move away from people. But maybe people have had a hard time with that. Oh, I kind of indulge people in their poor behavior for a long time because I get involved in relationships maybe more out of my own fear, insecurity, or codependency, and then I indulge other people in their poor behavior for a long time, and then I get trapped in something that causes me a lot of inner conflict and that I don't think is just and fair, but then I'm defensive to loving and believing in myself. So we can kind of see the theme story of being in more codependent energy and, just hoping that other people will work with us more cooperatively. And high vibe energy is about being more independent. and loving and believing in yourself and working through your fears and your insecurities so you don't indulge poor behavior in yourself and others, or kind of being tipped out of balance where, oh my gosh, but I love them, and you're kind of letting your heart run your life. And some people are very inspired in their loving nature, because Cancer and Pisces is emotional water sign energy, to try to help and encourage other people, and could be very loving people, but it can kind of, where it's not kind of being more tempered and balanced within yourself, that I need to learn that, yes, I am a loving, nurturing, supportive person, but it needs to be just and fair. But we kind of could have indulged our more, but I'm a loving person, and oh my gosh, I'm going to help these other people, and I'm going to love them, and I'm sure they're going to change. And we kind of get in relationships with other people who might be more in a mental prison. Some people weren't as much in a mental prison about love, but they wanted to be in a relationship. We're all inspired by these things of the world, and Taurus does represent all these different institutions of the world. I want a job. I want to be in friendships. I want to be in romantic relationships. But we have Sagittarius energy is about the fact that we have all these lessons to learn in life. And we go on these adventures, and we're drawn and attracted to certain people. We have lessons to learn. They have lessons to learn. If you're a very loving, nurturing person, you can be someone who's like, oh my gosh, look at these people, and I'm going to try to change them. The fives can talk about change. And really, we can offer people peace and love and encouragement, but maybe we should quit trying to change people. Love is the answer, but people have to do that work within themselves. And if we go out there in the world and we see people who might like to live more from their mind than their heart, are fearful of love, fearful of being hurt, might like to live more from their mind than their heart. This is Libra, and this is Gemini energy. And Gemini energy does talk about our free will nature and what our truth is. Am I aligned with my more hopeful, believing, loving nature? Am I more defensive to love? I get hurt doing love. I like to live more from my mind than my heart. Do I think it's just and fair to be more defensive, more immature, indulge myself more in relationships? If you're a person who's very inspired by love, and again, the way you could read this is, we've all been wounded. We've all felt defensive. We've all been inspired by these things of the world, or we want jobs and friendships and relationships. It's just that high vibe people could be more aligned with their more emotionally intuitive, loving nature, but other people could harness that energy in a more shadowy way, and they kind of use their intuition in a more shadowy way because they are defensive, and they might have fear of love, and they do like to live more from their mind than their heart. And so some people's idea, I have an idea, I am defensive, I don't want to really do love, I get hurt doing love, but I like to look like I am a just and fair and loving person. I'll go get in a relationship with a more loving person. That's the answer. Or I have fears and insecurity and past pain and heartbreak. Some people's philosophy of life is like, I don't have to deal with those things. That's not the answer. I'm just going to go get in a relationship with someone who's loving and nurturing and warm and supportive and encouraging, who might be kind of defensive to loving and believing in themselves and worried their dreams aren't going to come into reality. And I'll go present myself as this just and fair person who has these things of the world that you should get in a relationship with me. And then you do get in a relationship with them. And the people who are more inspired by love have found themselves that they got in a relationship with someone who was hiding that they were more defensive to love. And it was all for everybody to learn these lessons. And so then when we move forward in life, people who are motivated and inspired by love could think if I get in a relationship with someone and I'm loving and encouraging and I love them and I'm just and fair and I'm trying to encourage them to love and believe in themselves. I wish I had someone like that in my life. I am sure they will do this work within themselves to stand up for themselves against the past and their own shadow nature to move forward with me in truth and love. But that's not the case. Some people are like, no, I'm not ever going to get out of my defensiveness. I like to stay in my comfort zone of living more from my mind than my heart. I view the King of Swords can be a person's self-protective nature. You can't let your inner child go out there to play in the world. They might fall down. They might skin their knee. Their heart might get bruised. You let your ego run your life, which can just be your fear, your immature nature, self-protective nature. And we get in relationships thinking, oh no, everybody's motivated by love. And we got to see the truth. Not everybody's motivated by love. And then as we move forward and we've kind of learned that lesson, and we take those lessons that we've learned with us, that I've gotten in relationships with people who I thought would be more just and fair, and they weren't. The kings can represent how people are presenting themselves in the world. Everybody can present themselves like, I'm a loving family person. I'm this stable, grounded, emotionally mature person. I'm this just and fair person. And they're not. We have to, because people can, in their more egoic nature, just create this illusion about who they are. And some people, they might, in a lot of ways, look like they have things of the world that we want, right? They might have a good job. They might be attractive. They might be charming. They might have a good social clout or presence in the world or whatever, right? But are they inspired by love? What drives them, motivates them? And that's what we really need to understand, is the truth of what drives and motivates people to get in the relationships that they get into. And if you are motivated and inspired by love, you think everybody's motivated and inspired by love, but they're not. Some people are like, I have a lot of fears, insecurities, defensive, not sure if my dreams will come into reality, if I'll get justice in the world. I'll get in a relationship with you because that makes logical, practical sense. Well, I don't know about you. I don't want people to get in a relationship with me because, well, that would look like I have justice in the world. It would look like I'm not defensive. It would look like I'm over past pain and heartbreak. No, I don't want to be in a relationship with someone for them to create this illusion that they want to create in the world. If it's not based on truth and love, and if I got in relationships in the past who I saw that they like to live more from their mind than their heart, that they're kind of defensive to love, but I don't know, sometimes, the way it can kind of come across, which I don't think if you're a loving, nurturing, inspiring person, you think of it that way, but it can kind of be us and our ego, because the Five of Wands is Leo energy. Oh no, I can change them. Why try to change people? If they show you when you meet them, I have fears and insecurities of love, I'm defensive, or I'm immature, or I haven't healed, or I don't walk the talk, or I am more about ego and image or money and materialism. If those things aren't the driving factor in your life, we all want stability, we want balance. We all, want some stability and security in our life, but we also, hopefully, some people, do want loving, authentic relationships, and they also want to keep healing and growing and maturing themselves, and they want and have a desire to work through some of their past pain and heartbreak and self-limiting beliefs because they don't like those things manipulating them. And then there's other people in the world that have those past pain and heartbreak, those fears, those insecurities, but in their ego, they keep operating in their ego. And the reason I'm referring to it in the top row is because high vibe people get in relationships with people who are creating the illusion they're more high vibe, but they're not. They're really more competitive, more in their ego, more in their defensive nature, more in their self-indulgent nature. And it's more like a strategy. And we had lessons to learn about listening to our intuition because it kind of appealed to our logic and reason. Well, this seems just and fair. Well, this person seems just and fair. This person seems kind of balanced. But, we've all got lessons to learn about listening to our intuition. How many times did we get in a job, friendship, or relationship? It seemed just and fair. It seemed, whatever. But did we kind of get in it even though our intuition could have been telling us, I don't know about this. I don't really think we're on the same page. I kind of think our truth is different. I think what drives and motivates us is different. What we defend and what we value and might be different. But we had lessons to learn. So we got in those relationships with those people to kind of learn that it's really important to listen to your intuition. And when your intuition, was given to you as a gift, all the animals in the world were given their unique gifts, Bats have sonar to navigate in the dark. Our intuition isn't yapping in our ear every day, but sometimes it definitely is like, you should go home. This is not a good idea. I do not think this person is on the same page as us. But we still have inner conflict about listening to our intuition and kind of having good boundaries to our more immature worldly nature that wants the things that we want in the world and to get the justice that we want in the world, with maybe us not having to be more balanced or see the truth and really walk the talk. Won't it all work out? Won't it work out the way I want? And if I'm loving and encouraging, and I'm sure they'll do love, I'm sure they'll change. And we kind of realize as we move forward in those things that if everyone isn't motivated and inspired in their Gemini energy, in their Libra energy, in their Taurus energy, in their more inspired emotional nature, to be motivated and inspired by love is probably not going to turn out the way we want. And there's probably going to be a lot of fighting in the relationship, because if one person is more aligned with their more worldly view of life, defensive view of life, being more about themselves or defending maybe some more immature ways of being, and another person is motivated to be more authentic and loving and independent, well, then there's a battle going on, and a house divided can't stand. If you're going to build a foundation together, you have to be building from the same foundational principles. And some people haven't healed. Some people are out of balance. There's things that tip them out of balance, like, I think it's just and fair for me to be indulged in a relationship. I think it's just and fair for me to live more from my mind than my heart. I think it's just and fair to maybe be bossy or controlling or more about me or be competitive. This makes logical, practical sense. I'm competitive in the world. I want to look like I have what other people have. If I get in a relationship with you, it looks like I have what other people have. But it's like, but we're not. If one person's motivated by love, but the other person's like, well, this is good for our ego and our image, and you should want to stay in it because of the stability or the security or defensiveness to loving and believing in yourself. It's like, but I do love and believe in myself. I maybe didn't when I got in it, but during the course of the relationship, I did do work in myself to heal from some past pain and heartbreak or lack mentality and immaturity and defensiveness to change. And I thought we were both going to do that. And the other person's like, I'm not changing. I do have my past pain and heartbreak and lack mentality and defensive nature and maybe more immature nature and ways of viewing life that I defend. And that's how I view life, which is different than how you view life. You can get along with people for a long time. because there's a lot of things that that you enjoy doing. There's a lot of ways of viewing life that you think are just and fair. There's a lot of things that in common you enjoy together. You like similar things to go do and enjoy in the world, and a lot of similar viewpoints. But it can get to the point, as you move further and further in a relationship, and there's a lot of things we can negotiate in a relationship, but then it can get down to that last truth of ultimately, at a core foundational level, what is my truth of what drives and motivates me in the world, and how I want to keep moving forward. And that's when both people can no longer want to be in a relationship, because it's kind of ran its course. And then we get down to, I don't want to keep moving forward the way you move forward in life, because that requires me to change and look at life differently. And I might be more defensive to listening to love and intuition to guide me, or be in high vibe Leo energy, more authentically myself, or because I'm self-protective of my more authentic nature coming out to play in the world. And I thought I would be willing to do that, but I found out I'm not. Well, and the other people are like, we're kind of at that stage in the relationship where, in order for the relationship to keep moving forward and growing and maturing itself, it is to have that more hopeful, believing spirit in love, to be willing to work through our defensiveness. And maybe with some people that you were in a relationship, it never required them to work through some of these issues that make them kind of defensive or live more from their mind than their heart to begin with. And then it got to the point where it did, and then it's like, nope. You have to be inspired to want to be a student of life, is what the Page of Pentacles talks about. You have to be willing to get out of your ego to even admit, maybe I do have some lessons to learn in life. Maybe I do let my more self-protective nature run my life, or my worldly competitive nature, or my defensive nature, or get caught up in my head, and I'm not able to kind of talk myself down from things that get me all up in my head, or my fears, or my insecurities, or whatever. You have to be inspired to even want to invest the time and energy and effort to get more balance within yourself, to deal with the truth. And some people don't. I don't even want to be more balanced within myself. I might have a lot of heart and mind conflict within me. I'd kind of like to listen to my heart, but then I get caught up in my head. And because they kind of get more caught up in their head, it could cause them to kind of act in these more imbalanced, kind of shadowy, competitive, defensive ways of being in a workplace, friendship, or relationship. Because there's an old way of, we've either, high vibe, Five of Pentacles and Taurus energy is that you've learned some lessons in life, and you have kind of incorporated those into your philosophy of life, and that is your truth. And again, some people really hadn't learned some of those lessons, and instead of walking the talk, because they get so caught up in their head, or their defensive nature, or their immature nature, or their bossy nature, they kind of quit walking the talk, and they let that go, and then they try to control people in a relationship. And that is also shadowy, kind of Leo energy, because high vibe Leo is, which everybody can harness these energies in a high vibe, worldly, or shadowy way. High vibe energy is, I am willing to deal with the truth. I have learned to love myself. I have learned to temper my fears, my insecurities, to have good boundaries to my own more immature, worldly, maybe self-protective, defensive, competitive nature, to work together with people in a just and fair and balanced way. And for some people, they could have presented themselves as being that type of person, but it's really not maybe the truth of really where they're at. They would like to think of themselves as being that type of person, but it's really not where they're at. And so then they could have not walked the talk, tried to be more bossy or controlling or manipulative or immature in a relationship. And some of the high vibe people in their life, it made them put up their boundaries to them. Wait a minute. You know, I have been in relationships with people who I've already been there and done that. I've already gotten out of relationships and jobs with people who acted more immature, bossy, controlling, competitive, egotistical, secretive. I don't want to go back to that kind of relationship dynamic. And they could have communicated to the people in their life that, and some people are communicating to the people in their life right now, that I want to invest in truth and love and justice and fairness. Is that what you are willing to do, or are you not? And eventually it gets to where people can keep staying in that energy for quite a long time in a relationship until they work through their own issues of kind of coming to a place of peace about it. And we all have to listen to our intuition about when we feel ready to say, I am at peace with this, seeing the truth that this isn't going to change. And the only person I can change is me. And I need to be willing to stand up for my truth and what I believe in. And if I've been offering love and encouragement to people and that's not their truth, then the only person I can change is me. And my intuition is telling me our truth is different. What we think is just and fair is different. What motivates and drives us is different. And I am willing to speak my truth to get the justice I deserve and take the action I need to distance myself from people in my life that I don't feel are in that energy or actually walking the talk. And then, just like some of you have done that and other people are doing that now, then people did maintain good boundaries. They worked through their past pain and heartbreak, their own lack mentality, their fear of detaching from certain jobs and friendships, and they did. And they were inspired to love their own worldly nature and their inner child nature, to give themselves the things that they wish other people would have given them. From the 8 of Wands down to the 5 of Wands, letting go of the 3 of Wands. Some of you had to detach from an Aries, but for others of you, the 3 of Wands can just represent letting go of an old dream. The 3 of Wands talks about you thought your dreams were going to come into reality, but they weren't coming into reality. So you realize my dream can only come into reality with people who are motivated and inspired kind of by the same truth and dream that I have. And if their truth and their dream is different, we have different dreams. We're going in different directions. And I'm inspired to get out of my ego, because if I stay in my ego, I'll keep being defensive to moving forward. Out of my fear, out of my insecurity. And I need to deal with the truth, because the truth sets me free. And I need to invest in maintaining balance within myself, offering myself the things that I wish other people would have given me in my, maybe when I was in more codependent energy. And in high vibe Libra, I need to be a loving, nurturing person, and high vibe Leo to myself. Like being a good mother, father, coach voice to myself, to stand up for what I believe in, offer myself love, compassion, and forgiveness for the lessons I've had to learn, offer it to other people in my past so that I maintain balance within myself and don't go drive my life off into the ditch or go take action more out of fear and insecurity and codependency and lust and greed. because I've already kind of lived my life like that or been in those kind of relationships, and I want justice. And it starts within me. So I have to inspire myself to be in that energy, let go of that old dream. And the fives can kind of be about maintaining balance within yourself, because our worldly nature is like, no, let's go do this. It'll make us feel better. And our loving nature is like, no, we should do this. And it's working cooperatively, inspiring our worldly nature with love to get the justice we deserve. It's like tempering our more immature, fearful nature that's like, but I want these things, or I want to feel better, or I'm afraid our dreams won't come into reality. And we offer love and encouragement to ourselves to keep taking action in that. If we want our dreams to come into reality and we want more just and fair and balanced relationships, we have to maintain balance within ourselves. And the only person we can change is ourselves. And some other people, they have a foundational way of operating from the 9 down to the 5 is letting go of the 4 of Wands. And the 4 of Wands is Aries energy, which is about ourself also, and the foundation that we're operating from and what motivates and inspires us. It's like there was people and a way of living life at once upon a time. We were willing to defend that way of living life and viewing life and people we were hanging out with. But that's not the foundation, because we don't stay the same. We were 15, we were 18, we were 21, we were 25. We shed old ways of being to give birth, like the nesting dolls, to a new us. To face our fears, to be willing to change, to listen to our intuition, to grow to our full potential. I can't keep staying like a 15-year-old or a 21-year-old. If I want my dreams to come into reality and I'm motivated and inspired to grow to my full potential, to get the justice I deserve, then I need to have good boundaries to my more immature nature. And if I'm in relationships with people who they want to keep staying at that phase of life, hey, to each their own, but I'm ready to move forward in life differently. Everybody can wish people peace, love, and joy. We've all been there. We've had people who moved on ahead of us in life and were more bold and brave and confident and more emotionally mature than we were at different times in our life. It's just harder if it's like a close friend or a romantic interest, because we really wanted them to move forward with us at the same time we move forward. But it is the energy of love that helps high vibe people stay at a place of peace and balance within themselves. I accept that everybody is where they're at. I wish we could have all moved forward at the same time, but because we're kind of on different pages, I could kind of be defensive to hanging out with some certain people. They could kind of be defensive to hanging out with me, because we're kind of moving forward in life differently. We view life differently. We're inspired by different things. What we think is just and fair is different, Some people have changed for the better. Some people are the same. Some people change for the worst, But because high vibe people come from a place of love, they're able to keep moving forward, and they're looking and communicating and investing in other people who they think have that more hopeful, believing spirit in truth and love, who've also changed, who are also connected in with their more emotionally intuitive, loving nature versus maybe more their indulging in relationships to feel better, doing what seems logical and practical or self-protective. I want to move forward with people who are intuitive, who are connected in with their emotions, and some people aren't. Isn't sex love? That's how I view it, and that's how I want to view it. I don't want to view it as anything more than that. And it's like, well, then go have sex with some other people, because I want to be in relationships. High vibe Leo, people I can have an authentic, deep, meaningful relationship with, because they're balanced within themselves between their more self-protective, about themselves, immature nature, with their more intuitive, loving nature, and they maintain balance within themselves to be ready to invest in a more just and fair, deep, meaningful, authentic, loving relationship. And some of you have already moved on in new jobs and friendships that are more in alignment than some other past jobs, friendships, and relationships you've been in. And if it's you found the job or the friendship or the relationship, as you're moving forward, you're looking to find more people and more situations in your life that are more in alignment, But it's kind of slow, steady steps forward. Sometimes the right job isn't in place, but getting our personal life and our friendships and our relationships kind of more on the same page is what we're focused on. Sometimes it's the friendship or the romantic relationship that isn't right on the right on the same page, but we're putting work and effort to have these new beginnings in the jobs and things like that that are more aligned with our truth. We can only work on so many things at one time, and it's slow, steady steps forward, maintaining boundaries within yourself, being patient, listening to your intuition, and other people, because they listened to their intuition before and it didn't work out the way they wanted, they maybe didn't learn the lesson they were meant to learn from that life experience. Like, oh, did I get in a relationship with a bossy, controlling person? Oh, well, can I have love for that person? Yes. Well, now I don't want to go get in another relationship because I'm afraid I'm going to meet another bossy and controlling person. Well, how about when you move forward in life and you meet people who are bossy and controlling, from the 8 to the 5, you don't work together with them to try to bring a dream into reality because you see the truth. And you don't, you keep moving forward. And if other people want to invest in you, you speak your truth to see about what foundation they operate from. And if they're not on the same page as you, you listen to your intuition and you move on. Oh, well, I got in relationships with people that had a lot of fear and insecurity. Well, how about next time when you go out there in the world, you get to know people to find out, the sword and the wands can talk about communication. I'm not going to get more emotionally involved in a relationship. I can know lots of people. I can be encouraging and supportive to people. I'm not going to get in a more deep, meaningful relationship with people until I kind of feel like I get a feel for what their truth is. Do they seem kind of defensive to opening up? Do they seem kind of immature? Do they try to tempt me in my more immature, worldly, lustful, greedy, prideful nature? Are they kind of cold and detached? Do they seem to have a lot of... Well, if I see that, then, you stay right there, and I'm going to be right over here. And, you're maybe not someone I am going to try to put more work and effort into balancing a relationship without. You're an acquaintance, you're a friend, you're a coworker, because our truth is different. And I've learned these life experiences from other people. Or, oh, you're immature and want to be indulged. Yeah, no, I've already been in a relationship with people who are immature and want to be indulged. And it can be difficult because, people can be charming, people can be attractive, people want to be in friendships or relationships with you. It's like, if we have a dream we want to bring into reality, am I going to give in more to letting my fear and whatever, or my lust or my greed run my life? Or am I going to stand up for my truth? And I'm just going to know people and get to know people. And some people didn't do that. And some of those people, with these cards being in reverse, sometimes in reversal, it can mean extreme. Some people could really feel imprisoned, could be very heartbroken, could feel very much left out in the cold. Because when they had the opportunity to move forward and kind of walk the talk and stand up for what they believe in, they kind of had inner conflict about listening to their intuition. And if there was someone who came along who's like, hey, I'll be in a relationship with you, Some of those people decided that was just and fair, and they went and got in relationships with those people. Oh, well, the people that are more on the same page as me aren't in my life right now. I'll just go indulge in this. And then, what if someone comes along who is more on the same page as them? Well, they don't want people to view them as an unjust, unfair person. They maybe created this illusion that this was the dream life and the dream relationship, and look how wonderful their life was. You know, you have to be willing to get out of your ego to stand up for your truth. You know, if you got in situations, because I had some lessons to learn, I was kind of in my fear, I was kind of in my insecurity, you know, it's a conundrum that human beings are in because they want to be in a relationship. But if we, get in more involved relationships with people when it's really not aligned with our truth, eventually people who do seem to be more on the same page as us, that are more aligned with our truth, are we willing to speak our truth that what we have been in wasn't quite aligned with our truth, and that maybe we did feel left out in the cold, and maybe we did get in it for some of the wrong reasons, right? High vibe energy is not humbling yourself and not being in your ego. I'm a human being. I have lessons to learn. I could have been more immature. I could have been more fearful. I could have been more defensive of being hurt. I wanted to be in a relationship. Anyway, let's see what's coming up. High vibe people are moving forward, investing in other people who they think are just and fair, listening to their intuition about those people, going to keep investing in the people in their life who are in that energy, looking to invest in more people who are in that energy. What is coming up for them that they don't see coming? This card not showing itself. Why? Because of the Tower and the Judgment card. Well, the Tower can talk about doing this work to free yourself from things that used to manipulate you, and calling judgment on yourself and others. I'm not going to repeat an old pattern. Now, if there's people in my life that they have healed and grown and matured, and they are communicating with me, and I could be communicating with other people, high vibe people see the truth of who has changed, who hasn't changed, and they're willing to work things out to be just and fair with people who have changed. So just like you are willing, does that mean everybody wants to get back in a more involved friendship or relationship with people? No. Other people might have already moved on. I'm glad you freed yourself from what manipulated you. I'm glad that no longer is something that, has a hold on you, because shadowy energy at the big picture represented by the devil, the things that get a stranglehold on you. I am glad that you have got more balance within yourself, but you might not be someone I want to be in a relationship. Some people could say that to you. You could say that to other people. I've changed, When other people move on ahead of us and we move on ahead of some other people differently, we're kind of not in the same place that we are anymore. And then other people might learn lessons, and then they want to reconnect, and it's like, but I'm not, it's kind of like, say if you looked at our emotional maturity level at age 15, 18, 21, 25, when other people were ready to be more like an 18-year-old, and some people stayed more like a 15-year-old, and then those people in the 18-year-old category learn more lessons, they become more like a 21-year-old. Well, then when the 15-year-old becomes more like the 18-year-old, now they think you're on the same page. It's like, but I've already detached from that old way of living life. And I've kind of moved on to another phase of life, that we're still kind of not on the same phase of life. So with some people in our life, that will be the case. For some of you that are just moving on, that could be a shock to some of the people in your life, that you're standing up for yourself, that you really have changed, that, You're not up in a mental prison anymore. You've gotten out of your pain and heartbreak. You don't view those people as people you want to keep moving forward with. You really have, changed. And that could be a shock for some people. And some of the people in your life, it could be shocking to you. Some of the people in your life who are more defensive, who are more competitive, who you kind of see the truth of their foundation, because we can be in friendships and relationships with people. We offer love and encouragement to people. And for a long time, everybody can be willing to still stay in the relationship until someone is like, I'm not doing that anymore. And that's kind of also a big shock for people, like, oh shit, they are really standing up for what they believe in. Damn, no more trying to tempt or manipulate them anymore. What is this card? The way I view it with this card is that what you might not realize about some people that have moved on ahead of you in life, and what some people might not know about you, is that you don't harness that energy in a more shadowy way anymore. That you harness it in a more high vibrational way, which is the Seven of Wands, which is Leo energy. You're no longer defensive. There could be some people in life who thought, some people are shadowy. You're not doing, it isn't to be open and authentic and just and fair and loving. No, I try to manipulate people to get them to do what I want. And I'm going to do these hurtful and unkind things, and I'm going to be cold, and I'm going to be bossy, and I'm going to hang out with these people instead of you, and I think it'll destabilize you, and you won't love and believe in yourself, and you'll come back and do the relationship the way I want. Some of those people weren't seeing things clearly. And while they were doing this manipulation, you were doing this work to love and believe in yourself. And some of those people are just now seeing the truth. Oh shit, I thought they were defensive and in their ego all this time while I was doing all this shit. And it's like, no, while you were doing all that shadowy shit, other people healed and grew and matured themselves. And they're inspired. They're moving forward victoriously and don't view being in a friendship or relationship or that workplace as something victorious anymore. Because while they were doing this work, acting maybe with character and integrity and truth and love, other people were indulging in their more manipulative ways, immature ways, and other people have detached. It's the final judgment. And it takes time to emotionally detach from things because we are emotionally complex human beings and we have all these conflicting thoughts and feelings about people. But as high vibe people keep walking the talk and shadowy people kind of keep not walking the talk, it becomes more and more clear that apparently we operate from different foundations. What drives and motivates us and why we make the decisions we make in our life is completely different, and we realize who we don't want to be in foundations with anymore. And some of those people, but you also might be shocked at which people are willing to humble themselves, learn lessons in life. Might be shocked that some people that, as you're kind of moving forward in your life, there could be someone who you view as very just and fair and stable and inspiring and loving and intuitive, communicates with you that they want to hire you for a job or be your friend or be in a romantic relationship with you. And then, you've got to work through your own issues of having, because the whole thing is, as you move forward in life, loving and believing and learning lessons in life, it's kind of like God is trying to bring you what is aligned with your truth, but you have to believe that you deserve that. And not get up in your head in your own lack of self-worth and your own defensiveness, and to go with the flow and listen to your intuition. So I think you've freed yourself, and other people are freeing themselves from things that had manipulated them and people in their life that weren't on the same page as them. And high vibe people are moving forward, speaking their truth, being authentic. Other people will try to maybe present themselves that way in the world, but because other people have learned these lessons in life and they listen to their intuition is like, that's not the truth of who you are. You try to present yourself as that type of person, but that's not the truth of who you are. And I've changed. Maybe before it used to manipulate me or things like that or people like that, but not anymore. I'm not in my ego about those things anymore. And I'm not going to be tempted in my more codependent, lustful, or greedy or whatever nature. I believe in myself. I believe in my dreams. And if my intuition tells me I am not on the same page with someone, I'm going to listen to my intuition about that. And no longer thinking I can change people. I accept the truth of where people are at. And if my intuition tells me they are not on the same page, I wish them peace. We can be friends. We're not getting in a more involved relationship until they have done that work and gotten out of their ego or their defensiveness. And you might be shocked at some of the people from your past and your present as you meet who are the people who are more loving and authentic and willing to stand up for truth and justice, and who isn't. What's coming up for people who harness a more worldly, shadowy Taurus energy that they might not see coming? So they could be more aligned with, tipped more out of balance in some way. Well, they have a card not showing themselves either, and the reason is because of the Star card, which is Aquarius energy. So some people are more tipped out of balance, kind of thinking people should indulge them in a relationship because they have these certain traits, qualities, characteristics, or whatever, that people should indulge them in a relationship. And what they don't see coming, the Ten of Swords. Again, some people were trying to manipulate other people. And they thought, oh, because I know you love me, or I know you want this dream to come into reality, or I know you don't want to become independent of this. I could know maybe you're worried about your ego or your image, that basically you'll keep indulging my poor behavior. What they don't see coming is that the high vibe people in their life who harness high vibe Aquarius, they're harnessing a more shadowy Aquarius, more focused on these things of the world or themselves, thinking other people are more caught up in those things too and will stay in a relationship with them for those reasons. What they don't see coming is that some of the high vibe people in their life aren't willing to give up their dreams. And if they've been feeling backstabbed and betrayed in a relationship, they're not willing to do that anymore. And they are willing to end this relationship. They're just right now, maybe some of them doing this work within themselves to work through their own fears of having to let go of something they wanted to be just and fair. And letting go of moving forward with something to go have this new beginning. And some people are working through this right now to close out a cycle in their life. Looking at life from a higher perspective, keeping things in perspective, talking themselves down out of their fears and their insecurities and how all those things manipulate them to get to the truth. When we work through the cycle of all the things that manipulate us, we come out with the truth. And we're inspired to stand in our truth and inspired to stand up for our more hopeful, believing, loving nature and be like a good mother, father to ourselves and quit letting our more shadowy nature manipulate us and other people in shadowy energy manipulate us. I am going to invest in people in the world who I think are more just and fair and truthful and honest and balanced and loving. I am willing to let go of this old dream because I have changed. That is not my dream anymore. And what they also don't see coming is that there's going to be other people in the world that are kind of on more of the same page as they are, that are kind of also defensive to change, just like maybe when some of you got in relationships with, in these jobs, friendships, or relationships, you know, and hadn't learned to love and believe in yourself. There are going to be other people who have lessons to learn from these people too. It's just that some of these people are never going to change, so they are like a person that other people get in a relationship with. Oh, you're always immature. Oh, you're always more about yourself. Oh, you're always kind of more emotionally detached and cold, or logical and living more from your mind than your heart. And, you know, it's for other people to get in relationship with them, for other people to decide if that's their truth or not. And if they're willing, do they think that's just or fair? And if they think it's just and fair, they'll stay. If eventually they work through why they would keep staying in a relationship with people like that, eventually they move on. But they might have someone else who also lives their life like that, who also doesn't believe in the dream of love, who also might try to present themselves as a more just and fair and emotionally balanced person between their mind and their heart, but that might not be the truth. That they have a lot of fear and insecurities too. They have a lot of issues they also haven't dealt with. But if these people want to move forward with them, and they together can create this illusion, look, we look like shining stars in the world. Look, we have justice in the world. Look, I'm this just and fair person. Look, they're this just and fair person. I guess, you know, if it's all finding people who are on the same level of defensiveness as you, or immaturity as you, or fear as you, or creativity or imagination as you, you know, everybody wants to be in relationships with people who are more on the same page. It's just that sometimes some people that are more like to be indulged, they don't want to be in a relationship with someone like themselves. No, I like to be immature, bossy, controlling, whatever, abusive, whatever, egotistical, self-centered. I want loving people to be in a relationship with me, because then it really looks like I got it going on. You know, it's like the devil wanting God. Not to say they're the devil or your God, but, you know, the devil wants kind of for people to view them and indulge them. And it wants loving people to indulge them. Loving, hopeful, believing people to give up their dreams, to settle for less than they deserve. That is what really can make them feel powerful. But they don't want to be in that high vibe energy themselves. Well, I don't want to be just and fair. I don't want to be authentic and loving and warm authentically. I want to create the illusion I'm that. And if they can find someone who's willing to do that, then that's for them. Some other people weren't willing to do that. But ultimately, I think high vibe people don't want to keep staying in that kind of relationship. And they do end up in a relationship with someone who's like themselves. And then they're kind of defensive because they know they don't have the type of relationships that some other people have in the world. And that the loving, creative, inspired people in their life who were more just and fair, those people are moving on in new relationships with other people who are just and fair and loving. It's like, I want what they have, but I don't want to be that type of person. And then it's all this strategy. And some people, they think other people are just doing strategy. With this card up here, the Seven of Wands not showing itself, if other people view life that way, that everybody is trying to manipulate other people to get what they want, it's all a strategy. That's what they think you're doing. You're just pulling off a better illusion than they are. But they're not seeing the truth. You're being authentic and inspired by truth and love, and that's what they just don't get. Oh no, nobody does that. And so then they think, how can I create an illusion that I'm like that type of person? Because isn't that what everybody does? Nobody really heals from past pain and heartbreak and grows and heals and matures themselves and has hope and faith and belief in themselves or in their dreams. It's all about trying to get in these relationships so we look like shining stars in the world. Who can I go get in a relationship with to look like I'm a shining star? Who can I try to go entice and manipulate? And, you know, we all could have been more naive and gullible when we were younger, right? And some of these people who do not want to see the truth that they need to heal and grow and mature themselves, get out of this old way of viewing life, like I can, male or female. Well, everybody's always kind of indulged me and I've always been kind of immature and bossy. Well, good luck finding someone who wants to keep putting up with immature and bossy. Or, well, in my Taurus energy, I have status or ego or image, or I'm attractive. My philosophy was people were supposed to indulge me in a relationship for those things. Well, good luck finding someone who wants to keep indulging you for those things. When we were younger, we were all kind of maybe more caught up in those things of the world or had these lessons to learn. We were more willing to indulge people, having hope and faith and belief in love. But we have learned that some people, that is not their truth. Some of these people are going to defend and move forward in relationships that look victorious and successful by worldly standards that they don't even want to be in, and where they feel backstabbed and betrayed. But they're so unwilling. How they look and having a certain image in the world is the most important thing. In relationships with people who aren't aligned with their truth at all, or that they don't love, that they're actually maybe defensive to. But they were unwilling to speak their truth. They were unwilling to stand up for what they believe in. They were unwilling to change. They were unwilling to deal with the truth of their own foundation. Unwilling to admit they could have made some mistakes in life. So they're going to keep maintaining the illusion and defending the illusion they've created of how wonderful it is. And while they do that, other people are going on an adventure in life, learning more lessons in life, out of their ego, maintaining balance within themselves, listening to their intuition and love to guide them. So there you go, Taurus energy. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.